Welcome back. All right, news of the day video for all you fine people on the internet for your Friday, September the 6th. Anaheim is on the board twice, two completely different items. I figured I'd split them up. Carter Gauthier. So as the rookies are together this week and Upper Deck's taking all their photos and posting them and all that, Cutter Gauthier says he's looking forward to the game on January 11th in Philadelphia. I would assume he's playing in that, although Anaheim did limit the games for Leo Carlsson this past season. Could they do the same with Gauthier? I don't think they will, but Anaheim has a unique way of doing things, so we'll see what they do. But he says that when it came out that he wanted out of Philadelphia, that death threats were amongst messages he was receiving. And I just want to say that if you're going to threaten a hockey player on the internet because they don't want to play for your team, why? I just like if you're trying to convince him to stay, that's not gonna work. If he says, "Man, I think these fans are jerks. I don't want to play here," and he's like, "I think I want out," the fans are like, "Man, I wish you weren't around anymore." Be like, that's what I expected. At any rate, Gauthier seems to have the right mindset. So does Rucker McGroarty. McGroarty is glad that the drama played out during the off season, that it didn't happen during the regular season, and that it's done. He's glad that it's done. He also said that he's learned that private conversations you have don't necessarily stay private. That is something that it is definitely a problem now. It does feel like there were things that guys could get away with back in the 80s and 90s, and now everything leaks out. Everything. So, yeah, Rucker McGroarty, it sounds like he has the right attitude as well. It is interesting that these kids haven't even played a game in the National Hockey League. Well, Gauthier's played a game. I think he played one game before the end of the season, right? But their careers really essentially haven't even started yet. And to get the kind of hate that both Gauthier and McGroarty have had. And it's funny because people are always like, I can't believe the entitlement of these kids and everything. Guys were holding out, not wanting to play for teams back in the 70s. I did the history video on it. Like, this is not new. There were players that would get traded to teams back in the 70s and go, I'm not going there. So I know I got traded there, but I'm not going to report. So this is nothing new. This is nothing new. And to, have this idea that, wow, these kids. Right, they would just re-enter the draft. Back in the day, you just re-enter the draft. You're like, I'm not signing there, and you'd re-enter the draft. It's not a huge deal. The difference is they don't re-enter the draft 2 years later like they used to. So I don't have a problem with it. But anyways, all the best. Seriously, all the best to both McGroarty and Gauthier this upcoming season. Josh Doan, who's also present for this, seems to have a good sense of humor about the family curse that's out there. And I hadn't even thought about this, and I kind of kicking myself for not thinking about it. Shane Doan debuts with the Winnipeg Jets. The following season, they go to Arizona. Josh Doan debuts for the Arizona Coyotes, and now they've moved to Utah. So apparently, one thing that's been said by people online is that when Josh Doan has a kid, his kid had better not get drafted by any NHL team because that means that team's going to move. He also is the first one wearing the Utah jersey with the breezers and all that. That looks fine. And he also says the players totally understand that, they don't have the name yet, totally get that it was the last minute thing. And yeah, it was. It was the last minute thing, and it makes total sense that Utah would want to take their time with the name. I think the name will get revealed relatively soon. I'd kind of be surprised if it wasn't. And yeah, I think Utah's going to do well. I do. I know there's a split. There's some people who think that Salt Lake City won't necessarily be a great long-term viable solution for the National Hockey League, but I don't see why it can't work. I don't see any reason why it can't. And all the best to Utah this coming season because I think they've got a pretty good young team there. And it's just a matter of getting off to a good start, and then they should be in pretty good shape. So one thing to keep in mind, I talked about this in a video recently. The next CBA, of course, is due in 2026. So the 2026-2027 season would be the first under a brand new CBA. Keep in mind, we're going into 2024-2025 already. So the NHLPA hasn't had talks with the NHL yet regarding the new collective bargaining agreement. But NHLPA head Marty Walsh says he's going to have his team. They're going to go through all 32 NHL teams and talk to the players in each city about what they want out of the next collective bargaining agreement. So they're going to do their homework, sit down with the players, basically go over what they like, what they don't like, what they'd like to see change, and then they'll have a better idea of building up what they want to see in that next collective bargaining agreement. And I would think then they sit down and start talking to the National Hockey League. I want to see a new CBA announced next summer. I'd like to see a new CBA announced a year before the NHL's collective bargaining agreement comes to an end. If players can sit down and work out an extension almost a full year before their contracts are up, there's no reason the league can't sit down with the players and come up with an extension almost a full season before the league's contract is up. Because that's a lot on the line right there. So, at any rate, we'll see what happens. I'm hoping for labor peace. You just never know. It's the National Hockey League. We've had labor peace for a while, but there have been so many lockouts and everything else that I don't want to stand here and go, well, they won't. They shouldn't. They really shouldn't go on any. There shouldn't be a lockout or a strike. I don't see any reason for one. The salaries are trending in the right direction, and yeah, I don't see any reason why they shouldn't. They're going to the Olympics in 2026. That's part of the reason they're going to the Olympics in 2026, and so yeah, we'll see what happens. So, but yeah, again, if we do get a lockout, I don't think people will be that surprised either. So Ryan Whitney on Spit and Chicklets reporting that the Bruins are, and everybody sees this as a lowball offer. Now I'll put it this way. So apparently it's a 4-year offer to Jeremy Swayman at $6.2 million per season. I think that works as a starting point. So I will agree that that's okay as a starting point. If that's where they are right now, not great. I do think that with Swayman, and I did a video on this just, like a week ago, but I think with where Swayman is and with the fact that he hasn't really been the guy at the NHL level yet, I think the mistake Boston made was trading Ullmark before getting Swayman signed to an extension. They absolutely should have got that done. That's on Don Sweeney. He deserves every amount of hate that he's getting from the Bruins fandom on that one. And if they're sitting at $6.2 million, if they're treating that as a final offer, that's terrible. 4 years works. 20 years ago, 4-year contracts are almost seen as a slap in the face now by a lot of young NHL players. They're used to seeing everybody get 6 to 8 years. So the problem I have with it too is, let's just say that the Bruins do play hardball with Swayman and they get him signed to a really great cap hit, but he walks away when that contract's over. Yeah, so at any rate, Swayman and the Bruins it doesn't sound like they're close. It doesn't sound like it's overly friendly between the two. And so we'll see what ends up happening. Because both the Bruins and Swayman have sounded pretty confident a deal's going to get done. But the reality is it doesn't look like they're anywhere close to getting done. Beckett Seneca sadly won't be starting the season in Anaheim. He's out 6 to 8 weeks with a foot fracture from off-season training. It's tough for a rookie get their foot in the door, but that seems wrong saying with a fractured foot. So it is difficult for a rookie player in their draft year to get onto the roster right out of the gate, right? So what this does is it takes him out of training camp. It means that by the time he's healthy and ready to come back, the Ducks are already in the midst of their season. They've already got their roster in place. It makes it far more likely to me that maybe Seneca doesn't play for Anaheim this year. But he still could. There still could be a roster spot. They're open for him. I'm not saying he's not going to or anything like that. And again, I'm going to apologize because I'm still dealing with some brain fog here. But Seneca, good player, and it's a shame that he's out for the next 6 to 8 weeks. All the best to him in his recovery. Again, the Anaheim Ducks, not a lot expected of them this coming season, but I was going to be interested to see who Seneca would be playing with and how some of these young players would come together, even just for preseason games. It'd be fun to watch. Cole Perfetti skating with teammates as extension talks continue between the Jets and his representative. Maybe directly between he and the Jets as well on some level. Perfetti's a good player, 19 goals this past season. I think Winnipeg needs to get him signed. There are so many restricted free agents right now. Maybe this is the way it is every year, but it feels like there's more restricted free agents than normal. But yeah, at any rate, Perfetti and the extension talks are still out there. So yesterday, the PWHL said we're going to have 6 names. On Twitter, Hockey Database said these are the 6 names. And I think what threw people was they said these will be the 6. These are going to be it. But what the PWHL teams have been hinting at today tells us that these names that they posted probably aren't going to be the names. So I'll go through this. Toronto's hinting that the name could either be Royals or Monarchs. They showed Queen's Park today. I think yesterday they showed an image of Queen Victoria, I think. So it's not going to be Torch, unless you want to torch the park or torch the Queen. So I think Monarchs works. Royals, and I mean, anytime you get a name that's used by another professional team, so I'm sure people would say, well, would the Kansas City Royals get mad? I don't think so. But again, I'm not sure on copyright law or anything, right, or trademark law. So Monarchs could be fun. Boston's hinting at Wave, so that rules out Wicked, unless it's Wicked Surf, but I don't think so. Wicked was the name that was reported for Boston. Torch was the name that was reported for Toronto, and I'll get into why. Montreal has a picture of the Jacques Cartier Bridge. My favorite is people saying, so they're going to be the Cartiers. I have no idea what that hints at. I mean, it's the river that's in the image, right? So the Rivermen? Nope, that doesn't work, right? So I have no idea what Montreal's hinting at there, but I don't think Echo's going to be it. And New York, they talked about the lights in the image they showed, which is just a teaser of a player at the window, and there's a beam of sunlight coming through. So New York lights, which works. I think lights works. So sound, not it. So in October of last year, I found an article that was written where 6 names were trademarked by the PWHL, and this was while they were still, figuring out what these were going to look like and what their main logo was going to look like and everything. And they had trademarked those 6 names, including Torch, Wicked, Echo, and Sound. All of them singular and all of them pretty universally bad. But it was reported, my guess is that they've done some discussions with fans. I'm sure they've got feedback and probably realized pretty quickly that none of these names were going to work. So the PWHL names, we'll find out what they're going to be on Monday for sure. I'd honestly like to see one team at a time release them. Like, do it like staggered 1 per hour. But at any rate, that's just me. PWHL finally getting names for all 6 teams. I didn't see any hint from Minnesota. I didn't see any hint at all. So that's why they're not up there. And so, yeah, we'll see what ends up happening this coming. And then I'm trying to think the 6th name for PW, but just those 4. I did look at all 6 accounts, drawing a blank right now. But yeah, those 4 teams I did find teasers, and the other 2 I did not. So there you go. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below as always. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe in the event you've not done so already. It should be fun. Again, on Monday, when they announce the names, we'll go through all 6 names, which ones we like, which ones we don't. I may even put up a poll on the channel on which ones you like and which ones you don't. And yeah, so we'll see how everything turns out. But let me know your thoughts. Hit like and subscribe in the event you've not done so already. Thank you guys so much for all your support. I will talk to you again soon.